And I'd like to welcome you. Jessica is going to be Jessica McVeary, who is our liaison with the county, is going to start the recording and the transcription of the meeting this evening. So I am Shobana Sharma. I'm the co-chair along with Carol Kozary. And you've heard how wonderful Carol is. And we will go ahead and get started because we have a lot of important topics to cover this evening, a lot of great updates, and we have a lot of public officials who are supporting us on the call. So we want to be mindful of their time. And so I'll go ahead and go through our agenda. We have our welcome and our introductions this evening. Are there any public officials that would like to just introduce themselves and say hello before we go through the rest of the agenda?
I guess it may include me. I'm David Dice, Director of Montgomery County's Department of General Services.
I am Aaron Kraut. I'm Chief of Staff for Council Member Dawn Lukey, District 7, your District Council Member for this area.
Okay. Do we have anybody else? Jessica, do you want to go ahead and say a couple of words and say hi, or?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for getting together tonight, and look forward to this agenda. There's a lot of interesting things to cover, so looking forward to the discussion. One thing to add to the agenda would just be an update from McLean, if we could, just to give the community an update on the West Side project.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you. We'll go ahead and maybe put McLean at the end as item number 6. So our next item on the agenda is going to be the update on the Jeremiah Park project. And that's going to be from David Dice from Montgomery County Department of General Services. Then we're going to have also from David an update on the bus depot landscaping and all the beautification that we see over there as of yesterday. And then we'll invite Aaron Kraut to give an update from Council Member Lukey's office. Then we'll have an update on the petition from the City of Rockville for the Metro annexation. And then we will finish up with a great update from McLean Quinn with EYA on what is going to be happening in Parcel U at Westside. And also the last multifamily building. So with that, Carol, did you want to add anything or say anything before we go to the Jeremiah Park update?
I've got nothing to say except for maybe go geothermal.
Okay. All right, David, it's all you. Please.
Well, I'm exhausted just listening to the agenda. So let me jump into it. I've actually got 3 things to update everybody on. First is on the overall Jeremiah Park Depot project. We have finalized, last time I updated everybody, we were expecting proposals on the development proposals on the Jeremiah Park Depot. We have received all those and shortlisted firms to do this. We've kind of been slow walking the final selection because of the next thing that I want to talk to you all about, which was all the buzz created by the email that came out of the council member's office. So we are still proceeding with the Jeremiah Park Depot. The scope of that depot may change dramatically if this next item grows legs and stands on its own 2 feet. So let me talk about that, but keep your finger on the Jeremiah Park Depot. The depot project itself, as you recall, was envisioned to combine depots for both MCPS and Montgomery County Ride-On in one facility tucked in the back of the property on the east side. You all had participated in the public charrettes and given your input, all of which was highly valued and very much listened to, and determined a great deal as to what direction we were planning to go and what direction we were going to give to the partners that we would eventually bring on board. But the opportunity presented itself in item 2 to explore a possible opportunity to move the school bus depot far sooner than the Jeremiah Park project would realize it, and move the school bus depot offsite within the next year and a half. A property became available in Rockville, former Amazon distribution warehouse, that we walked and determined, and subsequently walked with MCPS staff and determined that it would satisfy the requirements of Montgomery County Public Schools for a depot and parking of buses. So we've actually embarked upon that process, negotiating with the owner. The owner does not want to sell the property. We can't compel him to sell the property, but we have negotiated through a letter of interest favorable terms of lease that would be considerably less than the almost $300 million that it would cost to have MCPS as part of the Jeremiah Park Depot. So here you see I'm fluctuating back and forth between the two. But focusing on the MCPS depot opportunity itself, we would envision a 30-year lease at about $2 million a year. It's a large facility that would more than adequately satisfy the requirements of Montgomery County Public Schools fleet. It would also, because it's surrounded by industrial development, accommodate servicing and parking a few of their diesel buses, so that in their delayed implementation of electrification of their fleet, we could handle diesel and park diesel buses at this site without being concerned about residential impact. To retrofit this building to a depot, we estimate the cost to be approximately $10 million, a little over $500,000 to move all the buses and operations to that site. And then, and most importantly for folks on the west side of Shady Grove, a complete and absolute demolition of the existing school bus depot. In our discussions with school staff, they said, well, we like the depot idea, but then we could just do some reduced operations here. We said, absolutely not. The deal is you move away from here, and all that's left is tumbleweeds and antelope. So the plan would be to move their depot operation in toto to this site. It's at the corner of Goody and Dover, in case anyone's wondering where it is. I mean, we've been keeping this pretty much on the QT, but now that it's in front of the county council next week, you read Aaron's email, and your advocacy is appreciated for this. Our intention is to bring this about. In association with that, there's a large surface lot across Goody where we could park additional school buses. We're doing some site engineering there. There's a little concern about the slope on that property. It's currently used to park large trucks, industrial trucks, dump trucks, and the like. So we think it would suffice for school buses, but just to dot that I and cross that T, we're doing some site engineering work. Presently, we should have an answer by the end of next week as to the suitability for it to park school buses there. If we do all of that as we expect, then, as I said, we're seeking the blessings of council to grant us the $10.55 million to proceed with that work, negotiate a lease. I want to be cautious and not present this as a fait accompli. There are a couple of lease agreement kinks that we have to work out. Won't go into those details, but we're still working through some of the details of the lease term agreements. But if this happens, then we could complete a turnkey build out by August of next year and move buses and demo the depot by late next year. So basically a year and a half from now, plus or minus, probably a little more plus than minus, you'd look across the street and see almost nothing. I say almost nothing because the new locations, if everything goes well, and that's a capital IF, if everything goes planned, we can park about 250 of the 400 buses that are currently across your street right now. We're working with MCPS to come up with a plan for the remaining 200 buses. If MCPS's electrification of their fleet proceeds on course, then they can park electric buses almost anywhere. We have encouraged them to bear in mind that though we will remove the depot from that site, parking buses at that site indefinitely is not a viable option, and a parking solution still needs to be worked on. But if they're electric buses, that solution's more viable than if they were diesel buses. So that said, the plan that we are working on is to push those remaining buses to the back of the site so that they will be not present and not visibly present, and may also enable us to proceed with the development of that east side sooner than we had anticipated. We still plan in the long run to develop the back portion as a depot for Montgomery County ride-on, but it will be a smaller site and will end up a cost avoidance of some $270 million. So it's a win-win for everybody if we can work out some of the terms of this lease agreement plan. So overall, it's very good news, and we're proceeding. Council's got a public hearing on this next week. Aaron, is that correct?
Yeah, and let me just quickly jump in there, David. And first of all, thank you, David, and your team. I mean, it's really awesome that you guys just stayed on this, continued looking for opportunities. And I know there's still a lot that needs to happen, but we are very happy about this possibility. And so the reason why I kind of stole David's thunder yesterday is because for this CIP amendment, this $10 million, it's before the council now. We have a really tight turnaround, at least with the public hearing, which is coming up next week. And so that's really the reason why I kind of jumped in with part of the news, because I wanted to set it up for you guys, the committee, to think about and talk through tonight, because it could be really helpful to have testimony from the committee formally, if you guys choose to do that, or individually, you or other people in your networks to come sign up, testify in support of this, because we would really like that support. And also, I think it could be another good opportunity to remind all of the council of the long, hard road this has been, and some of the other missed opportunities in the past through no fault of anyone here. But I think it's always a good thing to remind all of the council of that when they're looking at this appropriation, and when down the road they're all going to be looking at the larger Jeremiah Park project. So I know that's a lot to just put on you. David has other things to discuss. We have other things to discuss, but I'm happy to talk offline after. You know where to reach me. I'll also put the link for the public hearing sign up in the chat, and we can take it from there.
Yeah, let me just append a couple of things to what Aaron said. Two things. Number one, as Aaron stated, your testimony and support in a time where the county's capital improvement program is extremely tight. I can't emphasize just how tight it is, but put in anything at this point requires something else to be moved. So it's so your advocacy while council members are balancing priorities is very important. The other thing this does is help us as we push towards the finish line in our negotiations for the lease to impress upon the owner of the property how serious the county is about doing this. So your advocacy, outspoken testimonies, as well as written testimonies, are very important to moving us across that finish line. So, I can pause right there. If there's any questions about this particular aspect, I've given you the sugar. I need to give you a little vinegar to balance that out. But if there's any questions about this right now, I'm happy to pause for questions.
Alfred, Joseph, do you have any questions or any comments you'd like to make on what David and Aaron have presented?
There was,
Ted,
I see a
yeah.
couple of questions. Ted
Yeah.
Riddle had a question about the location of the Amazon property, public knowledge. It is now. And then also there's a maintenance shop at MCPS Depot as well. Would that move to Goody? The answer is yes. Every structure that's on Krebs Branch is going to be gone. The county actually has a radio shop on the back end of that property, and we're working on relocating them as well.
I was just going to ask if there's language that would be distributable to be supportive and on target and concise, or if we should just freelance it.
That's something we can help with for sure.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
I will
Thank you
follow
so
up.
much.
Yep.
Yeah, because I know for our West Side community, it would be great if we can pass along something that they can use. Just email in, and I would love to get hundreds of these. Question on the testimony: do you think that in-person testimony is more powerful than written? I mean, should we try to line up people to actually testify in person also?
I do think in-person testimony is
Okay.
more effective, but if that's not an option, it is in the afternoon. That can be hard. You can Zoom in, and if you can't do that, write in. Whatever we can get is important. That's how I would prioritize them, though.
Got it.
I agree. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I think in person or personal testimony, put it that way, because thanks to the technology that we have available to us now, you can Zoom a testimony but yeah, a personal testimony always carries a lot of weight.
Okay. Thank you. Joseph, you had a question or a comment?
Yeah, actually I do. It's related to the neighbors. Have they had any chime in about this? I saw on the maps it was Goody self-storage. Are there any issues or anything like that?
I'm sorry, I missed the question. Can you repeat it again, Joseph?
Oh, can you hear me?
You're very low. Your volume is low.
I'm sorry. Was the neighbors, were they actually informed of it, like Goody self-storage?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we know all of the local property owners. In fact, most of the local properties, adjacent properties, are owned by the same company that owns this site. So everybody knows about this. And frankly, we even inquired about the self-storage to see if there was an opportunity to obtain that. And of course, if you're familiar with how self-storage facilities work, they are just a cash register for the operators and owners of those properties. So clearly there was no interest in them selling or even leasing that property to us.
They
But,
probably wanted 200, they probably wanted 2 million a month.
oh yeah, but,
Future expansion, you never know.
well, that's just it. So we're keyed in to whatever happens. If any of those operations go defunct at any point, we'd be keyed into to as a first right of possession.
So I've got this up on the map. We're talking about the it's got a tan roof right next to the self-storage. That's the facility where.
Yeah, it's right at the corner of Dover and Goody.
Dover, right, and Goody. Kitty corner from Ferguson's.
Yes.
Okay. I'm looking at it on the map.
That's actually a really good location. I noticed that Evelyn Beckman from West Side has a question. Evelyn?
Yeah, hello. Good evening. I just had a quick question for David. Well, first of all, thank you once again for all of your work and help on trying to make this happen. Would you say, given what you've said this evening, would you say that it's a fair statement that the kinks that you were talking about with the lease situation would be the more likely thing to block this time than in the past when, elsewhere in Rockville, y'all tried to move it and you had residents show up with pitchforks and blocked it. So are we
No,
thinking?
I believe that's the term I've used: pitchforks and torches. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
so do you think that the residents being vociferous is less of a blocker this time than the lease kinks?
Yes, I would agree with that, Evelyn. There's no neighbor objection to this. Our issue is one of
there are no neighbors.
right. Essentially, this is an issue of legal terms and conditions and county policies, and I'm in conversation with the county attorney, with the property owner, to resolve some of these issues as late as 3:00 this afternoon. So we're working through it, and it may require some executive action, possibly even council action. But your experience with me should convince you. I want to push through these objections or concerns and find a resolution. This is too good an opportunity and too rare an opportunity to pass up. So. But it's an internal discussion at this point.
Okay. Thank you.
Going to keep our fingers crossed. Are there any other quick community questions before we move on to the next part of this discussion? I just want to give everybody a chance quickly. Benny, I noticed Benny was on the call. Anna, I know that Paymon is on the call. Any questions, you guys? Nope. I think it's a quiet evening.
So I just encourage
anybody. Oh, Benny, you're on mute. Benny, you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, for all the work you've done now and over the last couple of years. So I'm curious, so when might all this happen in the not so perfect world, in the next 3 to 5 years, or I'm just curious?
Well, if everything goes as I would hope, we will have a lease executed within a few months and bring on our architect to design this facility. We are, I guess it was the other thing I wanted to mention. We are, the county Department of General Services is one driving this process. Schools is our client, but we are not relying on MCPS to guide this. We're doing it for them. And so if everything goes according to plan, my estimation is approximately a year and a half, maybe 20 months, 18 to 20 months to get this done.
Break ground start to break ground? Is that what you mean, or I'm not sure?
Well, no, this includes the design and retrofit of the existing warehouse structure and the relocation of the buses by the fall of next year.
Okay, thank you.
So the plan is that you're actually going to be putting these buses under roof?
Well, some of them will, approximately 100 buses will be able to park on that site. Another 150 buses across the street at the surface lot. And the way that Amazon had structured this building was one bay in, one bay out, but we're actually going to cut in 2 or 3 more bays so buses can go in and out. That's part of the engineering that we have to do.
I think it's better for the buses to be in a garage to begin with.
Yeah, but we don't. That would cost an awful lot of money.
I mean, no, it's just under a roof. I mean, not necessarily.
Yeah, again, we agree. Listen, I have a former daughter-in-law who drove school buses for Minneapolis school system, and every single one of those buses was in an enclosed structure. And yeah, they last a lot longer, but
this is
very, very expensive.
This is good for the buses.
Yeah. So I just want to ask a quick question. So this is wonderful news, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed. And we know this is going to work. We have to be positive. But in the off chance that it doesn't, are we proceeding with the current plan for the development of Jeremiah Park?
Good. Yeah. Bring us back down to ground. Thank you, Shabana. So yes, if for any reason this doesn't work, we are undaunted in proceeding with the Jeremiah Park Depot project. That project is still very much a go. Obviously, the affordability of that project becomes a challenge, particularly in the constricted granting process in the federal government at this point in time. Prior to this, we would have hoped for a more generous prospects of federal grants. And if that doesn't happen, we are still committed to the process of and proceeding with the design of the full Jeremiah Park Depot project. So in general, the real estate involving the east side of Crabs Branch is unaffected. The development plans that you all have had input on and provided us feedback on are unchanged, and so we will still proceed with that. It's just a matter of what size the depot is, whether it includes school buses or it doesn't. We're already coming near to final agreements with the state of Maryland regarding the acquisition of the access road and the additional property with the cloverleaf there. Those are undaunted and are moving forward very positively, I might add. So that work goes on without reservation.
Okay, that's wonderful news. Thank you for giving us that clarification. Are there any other questions before we move on, or any other comments that anybody would like to make before we go on to the bus depot landscaping and everything that's happening over there? Oh,
yeah.
David.
I told you I had 3. I did 1 and 2.
Sorry.
Number 3. So I gave you the good news.
Uh-oh.
Now let me ask for your indulgence and patience on a third issue. I mentioned a year ago that, and many of you know, we are embarking upon, and in fact, it's already underway, a very aggressive microgrid construction at the existing depot on the other side of Shady Grove and Crabs Branch. Mm-hmm. That will be the second. We've already successfully done one of these down in Silver Spring at our Brookville depot. We are embarking upon creating a microgrid, the second of its kind in the country, Brookville being the first, but this one will be larger than Brookville, generating 5 megawatts of electricity and hydrogen to fuel hydrogen electric buses as well as electric buses. In order to come in and construct the canopy of solar panels necessary to generate this electricity. The actual physical aspects of the construction of those canopies requires us to relocate some buses off that site in order to make room for the construction of the support structures for the canopy. And so we intend to temporarily utilize the property that is the former Parks headquarters across the street from the west side, and I can show you exactly.
I think that's across the street from the Starbucks, right?
I think
Yep.
we just lost David.
Yeah.
I think he meant to share screen and instead he logged himself off.
It's okay. He'll come back. He always does.
They put the share button right next to the leave button. And that's just bad design. So let me try this again.
That's because they don't have you in charge of that.
Yeah, man, I tell you, that's the problem. Computer programmers never actually talk to the people who use the stuff. It's the wrong one. Don't want
That's what you were talking about, though.
Yeah, that's the other one. Hold on, I got way too many files open on my computer. Here it is. So, can everyone see this?
Mm-hmm.
This is the south end of the property. The school, existing Montgomery County Public Schools depot's right here. This is that entrance that comes off of Crabs Branch into their site. This is the former Parks property. So we intend to park buses way back in the corner here.
How many?
Well, that's a good question. We're going to park initially 15 buses. Approximately in the end result will be about 40 buses. These are not, let me emphasize, these are not buses that are engaged daily in transit services. These are buses that we hold in reserve in the event, either for two purposes. Number one, they're held in reserve pending auction for disposal, or as a contingent. Our agreement with our client, Department of Transportation, is that we hold 15 buses as a contingency fleet in the event of emergencies or such things. These buses typically will be brought in. They'll stay here. They don't come in and out as a regular basis. Again, they're not involved in transit services, so the trips in and out are virtually zero. And they'll be limited to this entrance here. They come in. The existing depot is up in this corner. They'll come down Crabs Branch, come in through that same entrance that the school buses currently use, and come through the site and be parked back here. There is this. If I'm going to stop sharing for a second, just so I can see everybody. This is a temporary plan for as long as the project is underway, which is approximately 9 months. And once it's done, we'll take all those buses and put them back where they came from. But I just need to make space at the existing depot for the construction. So a temporary shift over to there, push them as far back as we can so they're not obtrusive. They don't come in and out on regular transit service. They go in, basically the next time they come out is when we're trying to get rid of them. They're not dilapidated buses, not rusted out hulks. They look like brand new buses. They have just reached their limited terms of service. For our purposes, typically we send them to auction and transit services in smaller cities and towns or countries purchase those for their use. They're actually perfectly serviceable, but under our terms of use with the Federal Transit Authority, we can no longer use them. So that is the plan. We're planning to start doing this the end of next week. And if there are any particular concerns, the community, the area is secured and fenced so that it's not a subject to vandalism. There'll be no lights, no horns, no any of those things that it would impact. And the only time the site will be used will be during normal business hours, say 9 to 5. So the impact on you all, other than the remote visual aspect of those being back on the far site, should be very minimal. But I felt like it was important to be transparent with you all and let you know that this is a plan that we intend to implement. We really don't have any options. We're actually displacing the staff that work at that depot as well, because we're putting arrays on the parking deck and elsewhere on the site. So all the bus drivers and all of my fleet mechanics that work there, they're parking over in the Grove Shopping Center across the street.
Oh.
So it's an inconvenience, frankly, for everybody. But once it's done, it's done.
So my personal opinion, we already have 400 buses. What's another 40? I mean, you really we won't even notice them. So, I mean,
well, these aren't moving. So,
yeah.
And I want to remind everybody that actually MCPS has been using that area for intake on their new electric buses. They go there first, I believe. So
really?
There've been buses parked in that area.
Well, I did not know that. So I will have now a conversation with MCPS.
With MCPS, right? They've been, in fact,
all right. Well, thank you for that.
Have a discussion with them.
Oh, you bet I will.
Carol's right. I mean, yeah, you could see as you're walking down the sidewalk, if you look down to the left, those MCPS buses have been back there for a while. And I wondered if they were just using it for driver training or parking or something, but what you said makes sense.
They're doing so without permission. So I'll work on that.
Really? I was not aware of that, or else I would have tattled on them a long time ago.
Well, I will take that issue up with them tomorrow.
Okay.
So David, there's a question. So the microgrid, if you could, for folks that don't know, who is the microgrid and the power coming from that going to service, and who's going to benefit from that?
In 25 or 30 words or less, a microgrid is defined as a site that self-generates electricity through photovoltaic panels in order to produce the electricity necessary to operate the facility. The intent of a microgrid is energy independence and grid independence. So if there is a power outage, the facility can operate without the grid. The operation at this particular, so that was my 30 words or less. The operation at this particular facility is such that there will be more electric buses than the 5 megawatts we generate on site can power, but sufficient enough to power the buses we would need under an emergency. In other words, if the grid was out across the county, a lot of people aren't going to work, but we could still operate a transit service. In association with the microgrid at MTOC, we're also going to be generating hydrogen. And the reason we're generating hydrogen there, which we are not doing at a Brookfield depot, is because the transit operations in the middle and upper parts of the county, the routes are longer, just in mileage, than an electric bus can match. So hydrogen buses, hydrogen fueled electric buses, have the same drive range practically as a diesel bus. And again, the only only emissions out of the tailpipe is water vapor. So we are going to be generating hydrogen on site, in addition to a plan to generate hydrogen off of the landfill in the northern part of the county, sufficient enough to satisfy the county's hydrogen electric bus requirements. But initially, the landfill project is a couple years away. But we hope to have the microgrid at the Gaithersburg location, Shady Grove location, completed in a year, and then the hydrogen operation will follow after that in about over a period of about 8 or 9 months.
You're doing both solar and batteries, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So we've already gotten global, international recognition for our Brookville depot. I expect the Gaithersburg depot, what we refer to as MTOC, Equipment Maintenance and Transportation Operations Center, will even top that. Living and working in Montgomery County as we do, we are not always hip to the very cool things that we're doing, but the stuff that we're doing along these lines is really leading edge. No one else in the country is doing what we're doing.
Very exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for giving us that info, because I know there's some that may not have a full understanding. Payman Habibi from Westside has a quick question. Payman?
Sure. Thank you, Shobana, and thank you,
Sure.
David, for the transparency as well. So I guess I'm a little confused about the microgrid that you mentioned. If the bus facility it's being moved, why do we even need the microgrid?
Well, the bus facility is not being moved. We're just temporarily relocating the buses to do the capital construction work to construct the photovoltaic panels and the fueling facility. And then once we do, we'll bring the buses back because this facility will have been constructed. And the new construction is designed with bus parking and on-site navigation in mind.
Yeah, this is across the street, Paymon, across from Giant at that facility.
Right. This is
okay.
the county ride-on depot, not the MCPS depot.
I see. Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Cool. Okay. In the essence of time, we should probably just go ahead and move on. If you have any questions, we can handle them at the end if we have time. David, did you want to give us a quick update, and also Aaron, on the landscaping which is occurring?
Well, all I'll say is, and I'm gonna just hand it off to Aaron, because the council member's office has been very strong in advocating on behalf of you guys. I've had a couple of discussions. I have regular meetings with school staff to try and move them off of the start line. But I'm going to let Aaron take it over, because Councilmember Lukey's office has been very strong in advocating that schools do something. So, Aaron?
Yeah, thanks, David. So, as you know, through the leadership, especially of your chair, one of your co-chairs here, MCPS 2 years ago agreed to do some landscaping improvements along the Krabs Branch frontage of the depot property. We were out there with them discussing what it would be. They met with Westside community to go through some concept plans in detail. And then the team there shifted, superintendent's office shifted, and they acknowledged to us, and they were very honest about this, that things fell through the cracks. But we pushed them about ensuring they knew that they had agreed to this. I believe it's concept 1B we were discussing before. And sent a letter, got a letter back. If anyone's interested in that letter, there's some other things in that letter, the response we got from MCPS, that should be of interest to the community about their views on the bus depot more broadly. But for the purposes of the landscaping convo, they said, we're going to do it. And I understand they are out there today doing some work. So I believe they told us it would be in 2 phases ending in June. So that's what we have, and happy to go back with them with any additional questions as the work is happening. But really, thanks to you and the community and the leadership here, we were finally able to nudge them enough to get them to move forward, and that's all it came down to. So.
Yeah, like I said, it's a lot of evergreens. They look like Leland cypress, probably, which grow fairly fast, and provided they keep them watered, and they should fill out pretty quickly. Knock on wood.
Yeah. I had wanted to say, Erin, and I wanted to thank Council Member Lukey and her office, and definitely you. I mean, you guys are instrumental in so much here, along with David Dice. I posted the whole letter that the council member wrote on the various West Side public groups, so that the community could see the advocacy that you are performing on our behalf. So, many of us were very pleased. It was a strongly worded letter, and that's really what's needed sometimes. So we're very appreciative, and we are finally, I've been here since 2018, seeing some things moving now. Other folks here in the group have been here many more years than that. So they did start yesterday, and it's good to know that they're going to continue with that concept plan for us. It's definitely going to improve the look. So anyway, any questions on that? Or, I mean, we'll keep you posted on the progress, and I would like to see the response from the county. That would be great. If you could send that to us, so we can.
Yeah, I will send that to you.
Cool.
And so in Dawn's initial letter, she asked about the landscaping specifically, but she had other questions broadly about the depot. So pay attention to that. And I think in particular, not to be a downer, but we were not so thrilled with their response on the issue of parking buses at school sites. So that's going to be an ongoing thing that we need to keep talking to them about and pay attention to.
So apparently Montgomery County is the only county that can't park buses at schools, when all these other counties in the DMV do. Fairfax County, Arlington. I don't get it.
So yeah, we need to keep talking to them about that, and we will. So
thank you. All right.
Yeah, that really is the new superintendent has taken the position that he does not want to do that. So that's where your advocacy needs to be focused.
Okay. Would that be something good to include in the testimony next week also, or should that particular
separate
aspect?
issue?
Okay.
Separate issue.
All right. So we should just be supportive of the money that is in the budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. You just get a limited time to testify.
3 minutes.
Yeah. So I know that we have some very intelligent writers in this group here, and I know that, we'll get some assistance from Erin and Council Member Lutke's office, but if there's anybody else that on a broader scale could draft some various versions of testimony that residents at Westside could easily just use, put their name on, phone number, and send out, because we want to get a lot of responses. So that might be a way to do that. And then others of us can write our own and, testify in person also. So I think, with some of the community leaders that are here, like Evelyn and Anna Paymon and other West Side folks, we should try to focus and strategize on that so that we could get as much help as possible and as much, as many people to testify. Carol, can you get folks from your group?
I'm going to try.
Okay. I did.
Poke them with pointy sticks. Well, and we've got, I want to point out that you talk about people who are in this for a long time. We've got Tammy Kiley, who's here, who actually lives over at Park Overlook.
Awesome.
Where Jeff lives.
Yep. I did send the letter to Jeff I sent it to Jeff also. So he's going to send in testimony. So, okay, well, we can come back to that. Erin, is there any other updates that you wanted to give us, or should we go ahead and move on to the annexation petition from the city of Rockville?
Oh yeah, move on.
Okay.
Happy to talk offline if anything comes to mind.
Okay. So Jessica, who's going to talk about the Rockville annexation petition? Excellent.
I am. Yeah. My name is Manisha Tiwari.
Yes, Manisha.
Nice to meet you all. Well, thank you for having me. I have been with this committee before, and I did give an overview on the same project a while back. And I'm not sure how much in detail you would like for me to go through the process, but I'll try to be brief. And if you have questions, of course, we can go into that.
Cool.
So this annexation petition was introduced by the city's mayor and council in October of 2023, and it's been a while since then. But right now, our mayor and council, and also we have a new city manager, they want to move forward with that. And for annexation, what we're doing is the cities are legally bound to follow the steps that are outlined in the city zoning ordinance and the state law. So the first step for an annexation process is for a city to prepare an annexation plan. And the purpose of the annexation plan is primarily for the Planning Commission to review the site and to determine if the annexation is compliant with the city's comprehensive plan. And the second thing that they need to look at is the zoning consistent? Is the zoning that is recommended consistent with what the city would like to see on the site? And also the third thing is, in general, is the city able to provide services at this location? So the Planning Commission reviewed the annexation plan at their meeting in February, and they were scheduled to hold a public hearing on the annexation, which is also required by the city zoning, in March of this year. But that meeting was canceled because we had a lack of quorum. Some of our commissioners weren't available that night. So we rescheduled the public hearing on April 23rd. And we would really appreciate any kind of testimony. You can do it virtually or in person. So after the public hearing, the annexation plan, what the Planning Commission does is that they approve the annexation plan and send it along to a mayor and council, which is the legislative body here. Our mayor and council is holding a work session on the annexation plan on May 12th. And then after they have a work session, they'll kind of provide direction to us on, to staff on, how they want to proceed with this project. And then they hold a public hearing, which is tentatively scheduled for June 9th. And this annexation involves a substantial notification and, a process in which the city notifies the county, other planning, planning jurisdictions like the city of Gaithersburg, Montgomery County Planning, and we notify them about this project. So the state requires that there is certain time built into the process, so the notification is done appropriately. So once they have a public hearing, they will receive testimony, and then the mayor and council would then, if they decide, will adopt the resolution for the annexation, and then they have to propose the zoning on the property, again with the resolution. And if they decide that the annexation becomes valid 45 days after a resolution is adopted. So that's, a summary of the process. And we have been meeting with Humada folks and discussing, this project. And they've told us that, there are certain, they haven't had any kind of development proposals for this project, for this location specifically. because they do a strategic plan, and Vermont does not, the Shady Grove site is not really high up on their list for redevelopment. But these things keep changing, and they like to work with their partners, and they've had, good experience with working with the city at development, for development at Twin Brook and Rockwood Metro Station concept plans. So they are interested in working with the city, but from what we understand, we haven't really, they haven't really heard from any developers who are really interested in developing at that site, because apparently, as I understand, it's very expensive to relocate the facilities at this location at this point. So this is where we are, and I'll just type in the chat the various ways that the community can provide testimony at the Planning Commission hearing on April 23rd. And then we have another hearing by the Mayor and Council, which is tentatively set for June 9th. But then you'll have an opportunity to testify again. But here it is.
So there is, Manisha, a question in the chat from Joseph Perillo. Joseph, your question?
Yeah. Where is the annexation? Is it on the west side of the tracks, east side of the tracks, or both?
It's on both sides of the track,
So
which includes the
basically now Rockville is jumping the tracks and going into Durham.
the current
They've never done
proposal, yes.
They've never done that before. Okay.
Manisha, there is a website that has like a staff report with a map. I'll just put that in the chat so that people can take a look at the properties.
I can share a map if it's easier.
Sure, that'd be great.
Yeah. So this is kind of the tentative schedule, but here is the map. Can you see it, or am I sharing it?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Don't press the button David pressed earlier.
Okay, share. Screen. I am not sure what's going on. Select the tab to share. Jessica, I think, till I figure out, can you share, please?
Yeah, of course. I have the
Actually,
web page up.
it.
So,
Sorry.
oh, you got it? Okay.
Am I sharing it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, this is the map. And I can go into the slide share more, so it's probably larger. Hopefully you're seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
So the green line is the proper boundary. The gray is shaded out part as the city of Rockwell. And here, the property as shown in red is the Wamata property that the city is proposing to annex.
Mm-hmm. So what impacts will this annexation have on the neighboring communities? Are there any impacts we should expect, or what happens once this property is annexed by the city of Rockville?
Once the property is annexed, what we have been discussing internally and in the annexation plan, the potential for services for the city as of now is that the city would need additional 6 police officers to be able to maintain security and safety at this location. Wamata would continue to maintain the access roads, and I believe the county is also acquiring some of the access roads in this area. So WMATA would continue to maintain the station and the access roads. And the larger responsibility for the city is the addition of police officers to ensure safety at this location. Especially on the east side, they're a little concerned about the incidents over there. And I did see a question that came up that said, what is the benefit to the city? We at the city think that, this is something that is so adjacent to our boundaries, and we feel that we will be in a better position to work with WMATA to get something developed at this TOD location. Our mayor is very accessible, and she's very interested in, including the site into the city boundaries. And so is the entire council. They've had many conversations about it. So it's just that we feel that it would be good for the city to have this property within the city where we can, any development that comes in is consistent with the design standards and the vision of Rockwell.
When you talk about development of the property, what does that mean? What development? And then I think Carol had a question. Sorry, Carol.
I don't know. There is no development at this.
I wanted to bring up, you're aware why this property is like pretty much WMATA's bottom of the list in terms of its development. It's redevelopment.
We have been talking with them, and we understand that.
David, does this mean that if the city of Rockville takes this area, that they're responsible for coming up with the couple $100 million that are going to be required you're going to have to put in more garages and things like that? This is the terminal of the Red Line in this area. It's not like you can relocate anything. You've got thousands, especially since the federal government has gone return to work, return to the office. You have to accommodate enough parking for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of automobiles.
Well, the area that's shown on the annexation map is just outside the limits of the west side, so it doesn't demonstrably change the impact on our plans.
No, it doesn't impact us at all, right?
Right. I think the issue is, what would Rockville's intent to be with the property once annexed?
That's correct. I mean, my question is Rockville know what they're getting into?
We hired a fiscal consultant. We've hired a fiscal impact consultant who will be doing a presentation to the mayor and council at their May meeting. And it just to be transparent, we will know the fiscal impacts, and the mayor and council will also know the fiscal impacts, and they would know what they're getting into, like your question, you're questioning, and that's why we're providing them with all the information that we can, and then the decision will be theirs, whether they want to go ahead with it or not. And we've had several discussions with WMATA who also told us that this property has considerable considerations that we need to look at. There are challenges, and as a matter of fact, when we go through the public hearing process and when we present this to the mayor and council, we will be presenting all these challenges, and then they can make appropriate decisions and direct staff on how they want to go about it.
Did you also take into account the stormwater issues that you're going to encounter? This is the one and only station that drains to a use class 4 watershed. I will remind you also.
Correct.
Okay. Alfred has his hand up. Alfred?
Thank you. And thank you, Manisha, for presenting. And I recall you're visiting our committee prior to. I feel that it's encouraging to hear the interest in the area. It's encouraging to hear that it may not be impacting people who are sleeping or living. I mean, it's maybe more limited to the actual metro station. But I feel that the community has not been really of interest to engage. Having the mayor and the council of Rockville present to themselves and their community does not involve all the people who are going to be impacted by it as a change. And I understand planning will be looking at it, but we're really in a vacuum. So the opportunities that are fast approaching for us to testify
Absolutely.
are
So,
very
yeah.
limited because we don't know what we're going to be able to testify about, except that there are challenges. It's very disconcerting. I commend to you the process that the county, especially DGS and our leaders in District 7, Council Member Lutke's office, and Aaron, and I commend to you their engagement with the community as a model of excellence in getting buy-in from the people who live around it and who will be impacted by increased parking, increased runoff, increased who knows what. I mean, I didn't know if I was going to be part of the city of Rockville when I first heard this. I'm only a mile or less away.
But you do need to understand that any development that if it ever happens on the property will be something that will be initiated by WMATA and not the city, because we are not the property owners. If they do have some kind of potential, then the city will be partnering with them and, working with the community in Rockville and surrounding communities. As of now, the property will remain as is because there are no plans for development from WMATA or from the city at this location.
There are no plans, but there must be some dreams. And who shares those dreams? How do they know what they are or what potentially could be there if they're not engaged? I'm just asking for engagement with the people who live around it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And we'll keep notifying and informing you of this, the community of, if anything happens. But as of now, from what we understand from WMATA, there are no development plans for this project and for this location anytime in the near future.
Thank you. I'm going to take a question from Joseph and then from Ted. Joseph, go ahead, please.
I actually agree with Alfred here about something's pulling Rockville into this due to the fact that lessons learned about 2-3 years ago, we were approached by Nikosi told us about this, that they wanted to build an arena just west of the metro. And that would imply that thousands of people will come through for events. Is that on the table that Rockville knows about?
We don't have an arena proposal on the project at this location at this time. Yeah, where was the arena proposed? At the metro station or
western parking lot area, and it was highly frowned upon by us. And that's why I'm like, I'm getting reminiscent of what happened about 2-3 years ago.
We did have a developer who was looking to build a stadium in the city, and they did talk to WMATA about a stadium that would possibly hold soccer games, or like in, graduation ceremonies on the
Exactly.
east side. But the site was not suitable for what the developer wanted, so they're looking elsewhere. And WMATA also worked with them, and it was kind of an unsolicited proposal, is what they call it. So they did have conversation with WMATA, but the site did not meet the requirements of what this developer was trying to do. So they're looking, they moved out of this location and they're looking elsewhere.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Ted, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. This is ultimately more a question about political process. Obviously, if the Rockville takes control of this land, which I'm not saying I'm in favor of or against, and then they choose to develop it. Most of us, I think, on this call, or most of us involved in this, are citizens of the county, but at least I'm not, and I'm probably the closest to the Rockville border, more than close than another, are not citizens of the city of Rockville. And I'm curious about, does the county still have a role in what goes on in terms of development of the city of Rockville land, and in terms of what role do the people that I vote to elect and the other folks have in the development process here? Or would this, once it becomes part of the city of Rockville, if this land comes part of the city of Rockville, does it mean that most of us who live outside the city of Rockville don't have much involvement in the political process of making those decisions?
So, can I, and Manisha,
Aaron, I'd love to have you answer that. Yes.
Manisha and Jessica can correct me if I'm wrong, so state law dictates the annexation rules for a municipality. And I think in this case, if the city of Rockville decides to move ahead with annexation, the decision before the county and council, I think, is per state law, the county has to determine whether they concur with the city that the existing county zoning is consistent with what the city zoning would be. And if that is the determination, then the city is allowed to annex it. If the county believes it is inconsistent, then I believe it would be a 5-year hold. Is that right, Manisha, Jessica? I mean, I think that's how it works. Yeah,
that's correct. Well, the city would be proposing a zoning, and when it eventually goes to the county council will decide whether the zoning that the city is proposing is consistent with what the county has at that location. And if not, if the county believes that the city zone allows a lot more density than what is being proposed in the county, then they can say that, yeah, the city can annex this property. But however, you cannot change the zoning for 5 years.
right.
But
Yeah,
so if
so
I
it's not a
understand,
straight
sorry.
up and down. The county doesn't get to say yay or nay in a sort of straight yes or no way. And that's what the state law allows. So
Yep.
that would be the process.
Yep. But if I'm understanding properly, if this land becomes part of the city of Rockville, or let me put it around this way, all the work that's going on at Jeremiah Park is under the control of the county, and all of us who live at residence near it and all, across the whole county have involvement and a voice in, through our elected representatives, in what decisions are made there. If something is being done in the city of Rockville, if this land becomes for the city of Rockville, we do not, none of our elected representatives are involved ultimately in what happens with that land after 5 years. If I'm understanding right, they can't change the zoning for 5 years, but they could change it after that point.
Well, to your larger question, I think, so if you live in one of the municipalities now, you have city representatives and county representatives. So like if you live in King Farm in the city, you have your city council members and the mayor. You also have county council member Sidney Katz and the at-large council members in the county executive.
But this land, which is very close to where all of us live on county land, and any development that happened on it ultimately might impact us much more than it would impact most of the residents of Rockville. But we would not be we would not really have a major voice in that political process. That's what I'm understanding.
No, not absolutely not. Any development that happens, for example, in the town center, if you get into our mailing list and you testify about that development, you will always be notified, and you will always have a say in what the city is proposing. What happens at Jeremiah Park impacts the city of Rockville as well. So the only thing that will change is that the zoning will be what is provided by the city of Rockville. However, our comprehensive plan is very similar to what the county had for this property. And our vision is we are in Montgomery County, and our vision pretty much aligns with the Shady Grove master plan. It's not very different from what the county would have proposed, and any part of the city is still in the county. So we really have a mutual interest to kind of do what's best for the city and for the county. The city just feels that being closer to this property, we have a better position to develop something pretty much what the county had envisioned, and hopefully work with the neighborhoods and the communities surrounding this property to make a product that will work very well for everybody.
Do you see the desire for the city to move and keep going and keep annexing, such as like the west side or the property across,
Well, this really goes back to our comprehensive plan. The way the municipalities work is that the state tells them that, hey, you need to prepare a comprehensive plan, and the municipal growth element is a key element and a required element of the comprehensive plan. And for the municipal growth element, the state tells us that, hey, city, when you're working on a comprehensive plan, you need to identify your growth areas. You need to tell us where you intend to grow. So if you want to, kind of grow if you want to annex those areas, you need to be sure that you have the capacity to service those areas. So when you prepare your comprehensive plans, you need to consider that. So we have a comprehensive plan. Typically, the way it works is that for annexations, it typically requires that if it's a private property, they need to come into the city with a petition. And the requirement for the petition is that 25% of the property owners need to be registered voters, and they also need to have 25% of the assessed valuation of the land. And this is not a typical process because this property is tax exempt. So the city looked at it as an opportunity to be able to access this property, which was, met the contiguous, which is adjacency and contiguous requirements. So the city is able to do that because it's a tax exempt property. But the city cannot just go in and tell property owners that, hey, you have to come into the city, especially for private property owners. The city does not have the authority to do that.
Okay. Thank you, Manisha. Are there any follow-up questions for Manisha or on this topic? Or should we go ahead and move on to our last agenda item this evening.
I think I see a comment that says that the gray area is Gaithersburg, not Rockwell. Yeah, that's correct. The gray area is Gaithersburg. The Rockwell area that I showed was like had an outline of dashed green line.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you
feel
so
free
much.
to call me, email me if you have any other questions. We'd like to be engaged with you. And again, I posted the different ways that you can testify, and we hope to hear from you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and, your effort over these past years, actually, that you've been here with us. So thank you very much, Manisha. Carol, any last questions for Manisha, or can we go ahead and move on to our last topic, which is...
I think McLean has been here long enough.
He has. So at last but not least, I'd like to invite Mr. McLean Quinn with EYA to give us an update on the development at the West Side. McLean, it's all yours.
Thank you, Shobana, and good to see everybody again. I decided to stay in my office tonight so I wouldn't have any children crawling over me this time, like I did last time. So, but thank you guys, and I'll try and keep it brief. But I wanted to provide a quick update as to things related to West Side and a more concrete update as to one of the final West Side development parcels that remains undeveloped. And so I'm going to share a presentation. I
hit the right button.
I have 8 or 9 slides. I'm wearing my glasses. I can see the right button this time. So I'll pop it up here. And if someone could give me a thumbs up that you're seeing my screen. Hold on, I've lost you. There you are. But everybody's seeing this okay?
Yes.
There you go.
Excellent. Okay. So the agenda for my presentation is just to give a quick update on overall West Side status, and then to talk about what we've always called the office parcel, or Block U, which is the parcel that's located at the intersection of Crabs Branch Way and Shady Grove Road, which is sort of the undeveloped parcel that you can see across from the MTOC Center that David was talking about earlier, kitty corner to the Grove Shopping Center. And just, I know over the years, I've had a chance to meet and speak with many of you at various points in time. The involvement that we've had in the Shady Grove Sector Plan area really started back with the previous Shady Grove Sector Plan, so in the early 2000s. And we've been working closely with DGS for going on 15 years now to envision the redevelopment of the broader county service park, all sort of 90 acres that encompassed what's now the West Side and what is currently the bus depot. And we have been involved in, over 12 years ago now, securing the preliminary plan that envisioned the overall redevelopment of the parcel in a way that was largely consistent with the sector plan that predated that. And then we've been involved in the development of the various components of West Side over the last going on 10 years now. And I know many of you are residents of West Side, so I'm excited to be able to share an update with you. And I should mention, one of my colleagues, Alexander, is on the phone here, and Adam Hayes, who some of you may know, may also be on the line. So just to orient folks, I think everybody knows the West Side community is everything on the opposite side of Crabs Branch Way from what David was talking about earlier with the depot site. We've been partnering with DGS on this redevelopment since, as I mentioned, about 15 years, but the groundbreaking on the first phase of West Side was about a decade ago. And the two pieces of the overall West Side development that have not yet delivered are the final multifamily building, the third multifamily building located closest to the metro, closest to the property that Rockville is considering annexing, and Parcel U. And Parcel U is the one that we'll be talking about in more detail tonight. But as an update, Alexander and I and our colleagues alongside DGS have been working very closely on the final of the multifamily buildings, which we are calling the Sage. This building sits where on the other side of the existing traffic circle from the Laureate and the Daily. And we are at this point, hopefully just a couple of months from a groundbreaking here on the Sage. So we've been working very closely on this. We are almost permitted, I believe, Alexander. We are in the final phases of our financing, securing our loan, and we are partnering here with the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County to do another mixed income housing development like the one that we collectively delivered at the Laureate. So an exciting project that will have a mix of income ranges, with 30% of the building set aside for a moderately priced and workforce dwelling units, and 70% of the units set aside for market rate units. And something I know was critical in the master plan and that many folks are excited about, a 7,000 square foot library on the corner, which you can see in the ground floor of this rendering here. So this building we hope to break ground on. I think June is probably best case scenario, but certainly this summer. And it is at this point just getting all the details ironed out and getting to closing. So making good progress there. Parcel U is a bit of an eyesore, unfortunately, but it's the sort of final parcel that exists on the site today. As I mentioned, it's at Shady Grove and Crabs Branch Way. It is directly across Front Street from what was the latest townhome construction that was completed last year. And Ted, I saw your question. I'll kind of roll through this if that's okay and come to questions at the end. Does that work?
Yes.
Okay, great. But so Parcel U is improved today with the county's fiber hub. This is a telecommunications structure that was built to make way for the overall west side redevelopment. That facility will stay. There is also a bunch of sort of core utility infrastructure on the site that will stay. But the parcel itself, you can see outlined in yellow here, and it's sort of bordered by Front Street and Front Loop as you make your way into the West Side community. So, over the last really 15 years, we've studied a whole variety of development scenarios for the site. Originally, it was supposed to be approximately 130,000 square foot office building with a parking structure. Obviously, it has been a challenging time for commercial office development, and COVID sort of put the final nail in that coffin 5 years ago. But we saw the writing on the wall there and began to pivot to start thinking about other potential uses sort of before COVID. And one of the things that we started to study was whether we could pursue a retail strategy here. And we looked at a variety of different form factors for how you might fit retail on the site. We actually went through a process with Park and Planning to take the office density that had been approved for the site and convert it into retail density. But unfortunately, for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is that Front Street is only accessible from southbound Crabs Branch Way. You can't make a left into Front Street. We were unsuccessful in finding sort of retailers who wanted to be there. And so, that strategy, and frankly, I think some of we've struggled a little bit to lease the retail on the ground floor of the multifamily buildings at West Side. And so we then started to think about something beyond retail. One of the concepts that we studied was a multifamily development on the parcel. And we looked at that in a couple of different ways. We looked at senior housing. We looked at multifamily, like the multifamily buildings at the Daily and the Laureate and the soon-to-be-built Sage. But then we also looked at condo proposals for sort of a smaller footprint condo plan somewhere in the 64 plus or minus unit range. And, all of that sort of study was something that we were engaging with many of folks in the community, with DGS, and talking about. But honestly, it didn't go anywhere because we couldn't make it work given some of the constraints of the utility infrastructure and the other challenges on the site. And so where we are looking now is at a smaller, lower density development of townhouses that would complete the final block here at West Side. It would be about 40 homes in total, something like 35 market rate homes. And we can't fit the depot here, and we think the neighbors on Front. That's a question I just had to. That's too good of a question not to answer. So thank you for some humor. That's a great one. As David knows, and some of you know, we've been trying to help the DGS find a new location for the buses for years, and I can't tell you how excited I am to, the news that I know excites you all about the prospect for the new depot on Goody and a solution that is both, I think, incredibly practical, should be feasible from a neighbor's perspective, and should be economically feasible, is just tremendously exciting to me. So that is wonderful news, and I will sleep well tonight just having heard more about that today. But the plan that we have here, what I think is probably most exciting about it is that it would eliminate the eyesore that has been Block U, and it would bring online much needed open space that has been part of our vision for this block since the very beginning. As many of you know, there was originally a concept here to include a community garden alongside the office building. That concept has evolved a little bit, but we have always left a large sort of public park space here, whether it be a community garden or something else. But what I think we've heard loud and clear from many in the West Side community is that without the 4 acres of public park that was envisioned on the east side, which, as we all know, is subject to getting those buses relocated, there really isn't an open green space, a place to go throw the Frisbee, have a picnic, but for the small lawn at the community center. And so the area that we've identified here is a ½ acre of lawn space in addition to the community garden. So I'll fast forward to the next slide here. So a large open lawn, heavily landscaped, that would take the corner along Front Street and Front Loop and provide that much needed green space. This had been the location of a community garden. We have shifted that community garden. We didn't want to lose it. We know that to many folks, that's an important element of the plan. So we've moved that here into a green space that would exist planned north of the large open green space. And we would create significant buffering against the utility infrastructure that sits on site, and finally deliver that open space that was always envisioned for this component of the site from the early preliminary plan days. And then, how this would happen from a zoning perspective, the idea would be to transfer some of the units that had been planned for the east side, so 40 of the townhouse units that had been planned for the east side in the existing preliminary plan, to transfer those units over to the Block U parcel. So as far as the overall density that has been approved within the preliminary plan, this wouldn't be adjusting or increasing the amount of density that was approved within the preliminary plan. It would merely be shifting 40 residential units from the east side to the west side and eliminating the 135,000 square foot office building that had been proposed there. And from here, we want to engage with not just the folks on this call, but obviously more of the West Side residents to talk about this proposal and to talk about the visions for that open space. As I mentioned, it had originally been sort of considered as a community garden exclusively. I think the feedback we've gotten is that people want a lawn, they want a field, a place that they can, play with the kids or have a picnic. And so we want to reach out and have those design meetings with Westside. We have had some meetings with DGS, with the Department of Housing and Community Affairs, and with planning staff around this concept, and would look to sort of quickly engage with the neighbors at Westside about it. And were we to advance these plans, what that might look like would be a preliminary plan amendment and a site plan submission that might take place this summer. A hearing before the planning board sort of towards the end of the year, with the earliest that we could see construction probably being in the 15 months, 18 months from now range. And so that's the sort of updated concept plan that we wanted to share. And I know that there have been a bunch of questions here, and Shobhan, I don't know if you want to facilitate them or I can.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a brief comment real quick. I did have a great meeting with Adam Hayes and also Alexander. And also there were some other folks involved, and we did go over this plan. So I know that based on prior meetings, there was a huge community voice for green space and open space. So putting in that, and I think it's still 24,000 square feet, right?
That's
that
right.
green space, which is going to be open for West Side. And Adam also mentioned delivering that first to us, so that we would have that while you're doing whatever else you're doing. So I personally, as a person that lives here, was very happy to hear that, and thankful for that. So there are some
Shobhan,
questions.
I do want to address that. I mean,
Yes.
that would be a goal of ours, to work with David and his team to see if we could get, some of that lawn put in place immediately. That's not to say it wouldn't have to be disturbed for a period of time during construction. But as I mentioned, we're in all likelihood 2 summers away from construction. And so if we could get that, a component of that parcel or a component of that future park delivered, at least on an interim basis, so it could be used and enjoyed in that intervening time, that would be an objective of ours.
Yeah, thank you. That would breed a lot of goodwill.
Parking lot, because that's got a lot of challenges associated with it.
I'm so sorry. What did you say, David?
I said let's put that in a parking lot and consider that as far as the logistics of the overall development plan. It's my experience that once a green space is in, and your community obviously been waiting for a long time, it jumps in on that, and then suddenly it's gone 6 weeks or 6 months from now.
Yeah.
We'll just need to work out the logistics of this.
Understood. It's not a promise. It's a hope on our end. So.
Yeah, I get it. Oh, I get it. Absolutely.
Thank you. I know there's a lot of West Side resident comments, so I'm gonna start with,
because I've actually got a
sure.
Jessica.
Who is that?
It's
Oh,
Carol.
yes. Okay, go ahead, Carol.
I've got a question for Jessica. I mean, McLean is talking about the preliminary plan for the east side, but the scope of development on the east side has changed considerably since the preliminary plan was done back in the last century almost. Doesn't that basically moot that preliminary plan?
That's a good point.
Boy, Carol, you're you're asking a great question. I would admittedly have not been as engaged in the development review regulatory process as Nkosi probably was. So my assumption, and I can get back to you with specifics, or perhaps McLean can weigh in here, but my assumption is that the overall preliminary plan had a certain number of units, a certain square footage that could be sort of shifted across the properties. And it sounds as though that is what the preliminary plan amendment that would be submitted to the planning board or to the planning staff later this year would, would focus on.
But those number of housing units were tied to a given quantity of land. And now that quantity of land is being halved, basically, and given over to the much needed facility for the buses.
So I won't use, Carol, I won't use the right terms here that Jessica might correct me on, or that Nkosi would know. But currently the preliminary plan for the greater county service park redevelopment is still an active preliminary plan. It's the preliminary plan under which any existing proposals, proposals that would come into park and planning would be reviewed against, until such time as a formal proposal is made to change the preliminary plan for the east side. And I think that there's a process when the county does something like that called a mandatory referral, which is different from the process that a independent non-public entity would take on a land use change. But the existing preliminary plan is in effect for the 90-acre county service park property. It is what all of the approvals that have sought site plan and ultimately building permits and construction on the west side has been perfected under. And it remains in place today and will remain in place until a concrete redevelopment plan moves forward on the depot site.
So there's a comment, again, we do not need more homes. Have some consideration for the folks who live in the community. Parking sucks. The community center is small and does not accommodate the existing homes. Why would we now add more homes to the existing madness?
So, I think that the West Side community was always envisioned as sort of an urban neighborhood at the metro station, and the original vision for the redevelopment of the county properties here was under a smart growth initiative that intended to create a walkable neighborhood at the metro station. And that really ties back to the original vision of the sector plan. It underpins the original principles under the preliminary plan that was approved. And we know that the county has a shortage of housing. We believe, and the planning department believes that, providing housing in locations close to metro where there are existing infrastructure that can be built off of and alternatives to having to take a car everywhere is the right place to put development. And we view this as being part of that. So we know that, sort of living in an urban context does have sort of externalities on ways of life in more suburban locations, but this neighborhood was sort of always envisioned to have this level of density, this level of development intensity, and that was really the strategy behind concentrating residential development here at the metro station. And again, from a overall density perspective, this isn't increasing the amount of approved density at the county service park redevelopment.
I guess the big thing that, we all probably understand is that, and one of the comments here is the original vision has changed many times, which is true. We are not a metro community at West Side. We are a car community at West Side. The homes here many homes have 3 to 4 cars, and there's no place to put them. And, the person that said that it's madness, it truly is madness. As somebody on the HOA, on the board, I'm having to tow owners' cars to match the vision of the parking policy that we have in place. So it is, all of these comments are very, very valid. And, I don't know, is there any change that can be made to this? I mean, is this how we have to proceed? I mean, what options do we have as a community? You know, somebody said make the whole parcel U a park. You know, and at one time there was supposed to be 4 multi-family buildings. We lost a building and added more homes. So we keep adding more homes, more people, more kids, more cars. And, you know, there's just, I mean, we're just going in the wrong direction here, I think. Go ahead, Carol.
If I can jump in, right, you mentioned losing the one multifamily building, which was supposed to come with its own amenities. It's not just density, it's the amenities to support the density and make it livable density. And when you dropped the 4th building, which was supposed to come with its own amenities, its own swimming pool and things like that for the building, and put in the 2 overs, instead, you did not increase the amenity space for the owned units that you shoved into place. So they're stuck with an undersized community center because you added residents that should have been living in the 4th multifamily with their own swimming pool and their own gathering space and things like that. And you didn't increase the amenities on the people who are actually paying to live in your now car-oriented community. I can see why this neighborhood is really perturbed at you.
We have probably like 400 to 500 homes and like 1,500 cars at least. And
a dinky little swimming pool. Those swimming pools are better in your multifamilies than they are in your owned community.
Well, Carol, I appreciate your opinion on this and your perspective. You know, I think that the math might result in a different answer on you know, some of those amenity sizing questions, and we'd be happy to follow up with that information. But you're right. I mean, we did take 100 units that were going to be apartment rental units and convert those into condominium units in the stacked townhouses. That was a shift. It was not all of the units that were in that 4th multifamily building. Most of the units that were planned for that 4th multifamily building were actually absorbed into the Laureate and into the Sage. And those buildings, as you mentioned, do have their own internal amenities. You know, one of the amenities that we have heard people advocate for at Westside is the lawn, the open sort of play space that is missing from the community, and that is something that we think, you know, can be delivered as part of the Block U redevelopment, you know, perhaps accelerated as part of the Block U redevelopment, and I think something that would be a welcome addition. We do know that parking has been a concern here. We've heard it from Shobana. We've heard it from residents at Westside. We have contemplated parking spaces that would be built on site here in addition to the garage units that would exist within the building. And so that there are additional parking spaces that we've contemplated in addition to some driveway spaces that would be able to provide additional parking for the units. So it is something that we are aware of and focused on.
Marianne, you have your hand up. It's been up for a while. Do you have a question?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, we sure can.
All right. This is not specifically about the development, but I was shocked when I drove through it a while ago and saw the tiny little, like I didn't even think that was the community center because surely there's more green space than that. It makes me sad because I work at the Agricultural History Farm Park, and to see kids running around with room to run and play is a pretty impressive thing. And it's what they need. The other thing I wanted to say is I have participated in, this is off the topic of development, but just about our area. we have the dump, okay? And so hundreds of private vehicles and trash trucks go back and forth to the dump every day, weekends, and people bringing their trash. Durwood is absolutely filthy. There is trash upon trash everywhere. If you drive along Shady Grove Road near Crabs Branch, there's thousands of pieces of trash, and I can't remember the last time I saw anybody picking trash up. Because we have the burden of the dump, there should be regularly scheduled trash pickups. It's just incredible. And then, like I said, I work at the Agricultural History Farm Park. A week and a half ago, there was a serious head-on collision right at the bottom of the Agricultural Farm Park driveway onto Muncaster. When the accident was cleaned up, there are car parts and glass that are still left behind all over the roadway. The guardrail in front of the farm has been down for at least 6 years. The last accident I came upon and helped at was two 17-year-olds that slid in the rain and literally hit that broken guardrail so hard they ripped the front axle off a brand new large pickup truck. So, we're talking about a lot of other amenities, but just our safety and cleanliness needs a lot of work in Durwood.
I agree. There's always a lot of trash on Crabs Branch and on the house fronts and the lawns of that border Crabs Branch there. So definitely a very valid point, Mary Ann.
Yeah, I think every once in a while somebody's car explodes on the way to the dump.
Yeah. Yep.
They don't cover the back of their pickup truck or their trailer and hit a pothole, and you're absolutely correct. It can stay there for a long time. And Aaron, totally unrelated topic, but came up the last time we met about all the 18-wheelers that are parking on Somerville and Paramount. They're still there. And I've got it from people who work around that area also, that people are living in some of those 18-wheelers.
I'll follow up with police. We did get that to the first district commander, who has since shifted to a different district, but they did commit to us that they would take a look for illegal parking.
Yeah,
along both those roads, but I don't know what happened with that. So
if anything, it's gotten worse.
Yeah. Okay. We'll follow up with them.
Thanks. Sorry, go ahead.
I would like to know if there can be, what is the county plan for trash removal on roadways? Because they see the signed $1,000 fine for littering. Someone tell me exactly how much revenue the county has collected from people illegally dumping and trash flying out of trucks and trash trucks. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know how much we collect from illegal dumping violations. As mentioned, this is something we've looked into before with DEP and the resource recovery, the dump in Shady Grove. And yeah, I think perhaps we need to ask again and maybe try to get a more focused, consistent cleanup effort there. There are illegal dumping rules. We could also look into that as well. And DEP will enforce those if they're able to find the source of the trash. So.
Cool.
Right.
Thank you. I just want to, sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say we special owning the dump. And so I think there needs to be a focused plan because the dump is right there.
Agreed. I think it's a good point. So we'll see what we can do with DEP to that end.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Mary Ann. Quick question, going back to McLean, because I know it's been a long night and you probably want to get out of here. And David, do the West Side residents have any options for, we've got your plan. We heard the plan, are there any options for us here to spur any changes to that plan. I mean, I'm sure you'll get some opposition. I kind of feel it here tonight, but what options do we have to work with you to have something maybe a little bit better? I mean, is there any option of not building those homes here, or homes have to be built here? Is that an option at all?
So it's a great question, Shobana. I think where we do view the redevelopment of this parcel as being an important part of the completion of the West Side community, and frankly, the completion of our obligations to the county that we entered into, 13 years ago. And so while the vision for the specific use on this parcel has evolved from an office building, which frankly I think would have been much more impactful on the neighborhood than 40 homes. There has always been development planned for this parcel, and at the same time, I know that everyone who has felt frustration, and I know David's felt frustration at the delays in moving the buses off of the site, has meant that some of the vision that many of us sort of fell in love with for West Side is for the 4-acre public park that would be built on Crabs Ranch Way have been delayed meaningfully. Right? It's a very long time. And so where we hoped to have the opportunity to engage with the residents of West Side and with the neighborhood is in really understanding that while this may not be the favorite outcome for this parcel in the community's mind, that the community can help shape what the amenities are that are part of this plan, what the park space is, what's included in the space, and understanding the trade-offs for open lawn versus community garden, what types of uses people could see here. I mean, I will say, I saw someone mention in the chat, maybe there's no tennis court or basketball court. I mean, we have looked at, you could do a smaller lawn and a sport court, which, if folks have ever been to our Tower Oaks community in Rockville, we built a sport court that can be a basketball court or a pickleball court, or, can have multiple functions on it. You could do that and have, a smaller open space contiguous to it. The types of uses that folks would like to see for these amenity spaces, we would love to engage in a design process to understand.
Yeah, we talked about that. I mean, I'm an advocate for having it just open and green. Having a sport court or even a playground cuts up that space so much. And, then you've got another 2 small spaces, but having one big space, I think, is a lot more impactful. And I'm personally of the view, I mean, I actually like the plan that you've presented. I mean, I thought it was going to be 60 homes, but, I feel better that it's 40. And I like the fact that the garden is to the back, because those gardens can be ugly and, unkept. So, and I know that there could be potentially some parking back there along that back wall. So, I mean, I think overall that space fits the rest of our community, So it'll be interesting to see what what others feel. But I guess if we had to mount some opposition, we would find the right way to do it, and see where we could go from there.
From a planning process, just a couple things. And I do want to address, someone had asked a question about whether there would be sun for the community garden in the location that we proposed. And there would be. It would get a lot of, it's basically has a southern exposure, to it. So it would get lots of sun in that location. But from a process standpoint, the steps that we would undertake to pursue this plan would involve an amendment to the preliminary plan that exists today. That's something that has happened a number of times over the life of this project. And then a site plan. And the site plan obviously is a level of detail far greater than what's included in the preliminary plan. But those are processes that go before the planning board in the county, that they have public review process, a staff report is written, there's a hearing where testimony can be provided. So, my hope is that we can do a lot of collaboration and engagement before we're even making a submission, so that, while folks may not be happy with the idea of 40 more townhouses, they're happy with the combination of amenities that we've been able to design together. But certainly there would be plenty of opportunities beyond that through the public hearing process and commentary process with park and planning.
Yeah, I think the other important thing is, if that was all green space and open land, the maintenance cost of that would be a huge cost to the HOA with no revenue coming into the HOA. So there's other concerns too. As far as the open space, I would advocate for you all putting in AstroTurf for us instead of grass that dies, and that we cannot keep green, or growing. So AstroTurf, McLean, AstroTurf.
I will let you fight that fight, Shobana, and when you have unanimous consensus, I would be happy to talk about that. It is a very controversial topic.
Yes.
We do believe it makes a lot of sense in some high-use places, and honestly, perhaps not in sort of larger fields, but I know that it's something we'd certainly be open to talking about. I just know it's quite controversial, and we may not get the same reaction from everybody.
Well, then you could definitely put it in the current clubhouse lawn, because that lawn is always dead. The fill or the base or whatever is there, we have reseeded it to thousands and thousands of dollars, and the grass does not grow there. So maybe you could put it in over there instead.
Honestly, as part of a consideration of the amenities that would be included in this plan, I mean, that is something that we could consider.
Yeah. How about expansion of the clubhouse? Would you be willing to expand the clubhouse for us some? What are you laughing, David? Come on.
Hey, this is great. I'm just watching the negotiation coming back and forth.
I think that would be quite challenging. But hopefully David's beautiful library will provide all the amenity spaces that you need.
Go. Don't forget that.
Well, wait a minute. We had to fight tooth and nail for that too. So we have worked very hard.
You've got a brand new library director in Montgomery County who's actually quite enthusiastic about this life.
Good. Well, again, credit to you. So anyway, it is 9:36 and we are way over time for our meeting here. McLean, did you get a chance to finish?
I did, and
okay.
Say yes, McLean. Yeah,
I'm happy to answer questions, and Shobana, obviously we will be working with you to set up follow-up conversations with the West Side neighborhood.
Thank you for everything that you all are doing. I know that this is a tough topic, and it just, things are going in the right direction. I think we all need to keep focus of that. We are a lot farther and a lot better off than we were last year. I mean, we have some progress on the depot. We have some landscaping. We've gone from a condo building or retail space where who knows what kind of folks would have been there, to homes that are going to look nice, have good landscaping. There's park space behind those, in front of those. So I think we as a community should discuss and really think about, what that space is and the development that's being presented. I mean, you're going to get pushback, I promise you, but we'll push back respectfully. Sorry. As we close the meeting, I just wanted to remind everybody of our upcoming meeting dates: June 4th, August 6th, October 1st, and then December 3rd. And very importantly, we all want to sign up to deliver in-person testimony or written testimony for the budget hearing next week. That's very important, and we should definitely focus on that so that we have the most impact, because if we don't show up as a community, that says something. That says something to everybody that is supposedly listening to us, right? So the county needs to hear our voices. They need to see our written testimony. They need to see us show up. So I would encourage everybody on this call, whether you're the county government or you are a homeowner in Durwood, in our Shady Grove sector area, to get on your feet, start writing, start reading, start talking, and get other people to do the same. We really need to show up next week. So I'm done. Carol, do you have any closing thoughts before we close the meeting this evening?
I was going to say that your landscaping is starting to look good at West Side.
Thank you. Thank you.
And,
It
and,
sure is.
and just give up on grass.
Well,
nobody can grow grass in Maryland.
that I think I agree with you on. It's not working.
Yeah, we're not
Except the soccerplex. They
Except-
do a pretty good job.
It's yeah, they're probably
Full-time job.
yeah.
But anyway, heartfelt thanks to everyone. David Dice, you are amazing. You are really a pillar of our community here, and I think you
Oh,
are
thanks.
instrumental in making so many things happen. Aaron Kraut with Councilmember Lutke's office. We have Jessica. We have all the other county officials. Kara is on the call here. Thank you all so much for all of your efforts and your, listening to all of us go on. And also, Alfred and Marianne and Joseph and Ted, all the folks that have been doing this for a long time. We're learning a lot from you all, and we're very thankful to you. And then to my West Side community, thank you all for showing up. This is not the end of this discussion on our plan for Parcel U. So we will schedule EYA to meet with us at a later location and date. So keep your thoughts going, and we can reconvene at a later time. So thank you all for the late evening. Take care. See you on
Bye-bye.
June 4th. Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, McLean.
Absolutely.